Ladies and gentlemen of the YouTube universe, what is going on with you on this Sunday, December 18th, 2022, 5:05 p.m. California time? I am, of course, your always gracious host, Fallon from GoNootropics.com, coming at you with the coffee. Cheers. Thank you once again for popping through, checking out another video. We are here sipping on the coffee. We got the festivity hat on, and we are cruising here at the Enterprise, baby, getting back into the spirits of maybe how things used to be, you know, getting back to my old stacks, the old things that I used to take before the Kratom kind of overtook. And the Kratom very much did fulfill the need for me to take anything else. You know, when I was taking the Kratom, I really wasn't touching the paracetam. I wasn't touching the phenylparacetam. I wasn't drinking coffee. I was still taking the nicotine. But the staples, you know, the staples of what I built this channel on, the things that helped me out in a much more functional way kind of fell to the wayside when I began to take the Kratom. So we're getting back into some of these classic stacks, you know, getting back into the spirits, getting back into the cheer of the 2016, 17, 18 Enterprise vibe. So today I took paracetam, classic nootropic. You know, if you want to write a book, which I'm doing, I told you guys about the Kratom book, which I'm going to be releasing no matter what. You know, it's not going to be one of these projects that I just allow to fall to the wayside. You know, looking back, this is the end of the year. I look back on all the failed projects, man, and you get steam for an idea, or you get steam for a project. Maybe you want to start a YouTube channel, or you want to start a business. And for a lot of people, they get a lot of initial steam, and then the steam quickly falls away. You know, you run out of steam, you run out of ideas, you run out of motivation, and then you're left with all these kind of like half-assed projects that you never see through to completion. And I like the idea of books, you know. Before, my mentality was like, you know, well, how do I make X amount of money, X amount of dollars per year, X amount of dollars per month? How do I reach $10,000 a month, this and that? But largely now I'm thinking in terms of what project can I complete? I've got a list of things that I want to do. And things that I think are just cool things to do. And if they make money, it's like, well, that's great. And if they don't, if they completely flop financially, well, you know what? That's okay too. I think thinking in terms of projects, something you can build, something you can release. You know, if you're an artist, this kind of applies to you. Finishing an album, finishing a painting, or whatever you do for your art, finishing something, getting it out there. And the cool thing that I like about a book is you write it, you publish it. You know, let's say you print off 1,000 copies or whatever. Now that book is out there, baby. It's out there. It's out there in the wild. You know, unlike what I learned with YouTube videos is you can upload all these videos and they go away, right? I was thinking about this the other day. Like, we used to watch DVDs, Blu-rays, things like that. You had a whole DVD collection. And somehow we thought this was antiquated technology, the DVDs, and everybody kind of switched over to the Netflix. And they switched over to, you know, these subscription type services. You don't own it. It's just available for you to stream. And then you go to find a movie that you watched maybe just a couple of months ago. You want to watch it again, and it's gone. Where did it go? Well, it went away. My YouTube videos, the original channel, went away. All those videos went away. Where are they? I did manage to find an archive on my computer with like maybe 20 old videos, 20 old classic videos, which I may re-upload. But the things you put online, they could be here today, gone tomorrow. You know, even a website that you build up, if you die, well, eventually the domain name is going to lapse. Your hosting, who's going to be paying that? Your website goes away. But a book, you print off a book, or you print off like a vinyl or an album on a CD, and you send it out there. You try to get that book out to as many people as possible. You create a piece of work. You finish it, and now it's out there, and it's out there forever. Books, once you print them, you print off a couple thousand copies, and assuming all those sell, well, that's 2,000 copies all over the world. All over the world, and you die. And, you know, more than likely the book kind of drifts off into obscurity. You know, it's very likely that the books I plan to write and the books that I publish do drift off into some type of obscurity where nobody really cares. And it's like this weird thing, you know. But I did read a statistic. 1% of people are taking kratom. This is a stat. 1% of people, at least here in the U.S., are taking kratom. Now you think of, well, 1% of the population, that's not a lot, but it kind of is. You consider 1% of the entire population, that's a lot of people taking kratom, using kratom, getting a lot of value out of kratom, you know. So who knows, this book could help a lot of people quit. For those of you looking to quit, you know, a lot of people using it to self-medicate through the holidays or whatever, using kratom to self-medicate. And, you know, kratom provides them with that holiday cheer, baby. So how long is kratom going to be relevant? How long is the book going to be relevant? But the point is to create something, put it out there, and make something physical, you know. I'm turning away from like this online stuff. There's something wrong about it. There's something wrong with this fact that you could upload all these videos and then, you know, all of a sudden they've disappeared. You know, hard drives die. Things die. Technology falls to the wayside. You get censored. People start to not like your videos. YouTube starts to not like your videos. And they just axe your channel. And there goes years and years of work. You know, so a book to me is like, if you're going to make something physical. You know, I kind of envy construction workers, and I think they get like a lot of value out of their job, even though it's like a harder job. Construction of kind of any kind. If you think of what goes into building a house, you have the people who lay the foundation. They do the concrete. You know, they frame up the house. They do the drywall. My dad did drywall. Still does. He's getting old. Still doing drywall. But with jobs like that, it's like, even though the house might not be yours, even though it's not yours, it's something physical that you could look at and you say, you know what, I had a part in building this. There's like a piece of you imprinted into something physical in the world that you can look at and take pride in and get value out of. And you contrast this with, let's say you're working for one of these just soulless corporations and you're at a computer. You know, it's like you got one of these data entry jobs. You know, it's like, how do you get value out of that? You input the data or you write the code, and yeah, you know, there's a certain value out of building a piece of software. But if you're working for, you know, let's say Microsoft, and your job is like one piece of obscure code in some piece of software, you know, how much value are you getting out of that? You're getting a good paycheck, but at the end of the day, you can't really see the thing. You know, quickly software becomes antiquated in and of itself. You got to update it. You no longer work at the company anymore. Maybe if you were the guy who made the original Minesweeper for Microsoft, I could see you getting value out of that. But if your one job is to maintain a small piece of the entire code structure for whatever piece of software, are you getting value out of that? And forget about these data entry jobs. You're just you're robotic. You don't see the fruits of your work. There's nothing in the physical world you could look at and say, you know what, I built that. And so you're kind of like, your job is just a means to an end to pay your bills. And you just kind of get shelled out with these jobs. And yeah, you're making a lot of money. But looking back on some of the things I've done, I remember splitting wood when I was younger. My dad would have me go out, split wood with the wood splitter and stack wood. And that, man, was more fulfilling than anything I've done up to really recently. I do get value out of these videos, but I remember stacking wood and doing these kind of like physical jobs and getting more value out of that than certainly my current job, where I'm kind of just a cog working for somebody else. And the product is not mine. The product is owned by somebody else. And I'm just kind of there to kind of grease the wheels. There's no fulfillment in that. And so to write a book or to create an album, or like the construction example, to frame up a house that, maybe you drive by, you're a local construction worker, and you drive by the house and you remember framing up the house, the work, the sweat that went into doing it. And yet every time you drive by it, it's like you get this feeling of satisfaction. Even if the job was stressful, at the end of the day, you got the job done. And here is like a physical landmark you can look at and say, you know what, I did this. So if you're looking at your life in terms of long-term fulfillment, it's like many of us were just depressed because we're working these soulless jobs. We're in data entry. A lot of my friends on Facebook, I see they list their, how on Facebook you could say, oh, I work at such and such. A lot of my friends from the town I moved away from are working for like these offices, man. And they have, they're listing it on Facebook. And I'm just thinking in my head, how depressing is that? And for what it's worth, a job is a job. And you got to do what you got to do. I could see how if you have a family and you're working this job to provide for your family, well, perhaps the job is not giving you a certain level of satisfaction, but you know what? You're providing for your family. I could see that. It's like a sacrificial thing that you do just to get by with your family. But if you don't have any family and you're working at some nameless company, Dunder, Mifflin paper company, no family, you go home to your dog, of course you're depressed. Of course. I don't know if people think in terms of that when they think of their depression. Are they thinking of, well, what am I doing most of the day? Am I doing any type of fulfilling work? Right? They hop on SSRIs. And one thing I've noticed with like SSRIs, it's become like a badge of honor amongst young people. It seems like the way people talk about it online is like, oh, well, which one are you on? I'm on Lexapro. I'm on this. I'm on that. And it becomes this thing. It's like, oh yeah, well, you know what? I had to go through a bunch of them before I found the right one. Meanwhile, they're going to Dunder Mifflin Paper Company every single day, and they're wondering why they're depressed. Like these SSRIs, these antidepressants, I've largely developed my own kind of theory why they temporarily work. And as I was saying in yesterday's video, yeah, a lot of people will say, yeah, they worked for a little bit and then they kind of didn't. And I think it's largely because when your brain is in a depressed mode and it's in like this depressed state of being, it's like depression is just kind of like the same boring frequency going through your brain. day after day. And when you take something like an antidepressant, well, for once in your life, your brain is finally getting some new input. So it's not necessarily the drug, but it's just the fact that it's something new. Your brain is just like finally something else. Finally something different, finally some new type of stimulus coming into the brain. And it's just registering that change as something better than what it was, something different from the depressive norm, the same frequency repeating in your brain over and over and over again. And what happens with the brain is it just adapts. You grow a tolerance to these things, to these SSRIs, antidepressants, and then they stop working because now your brain has become used to that. So to have a life where you're not depressed, your brain needs some type of new stimulus. It needs challenge. It needs something to look forward to, some type of thing to conquer. And if you're going to Dunder, Mifflin Paper Company every single day, well, what is there for you to conquer? What kind of challenge is there for the brain? You get into a new job, and you know what? Certainly that peaks the brain up a little bit. It peaks up the brain because it's like a new stimulus. It's like an antidepressant. Even though objectively it's just like this crappy job, the brain is learning something new. And so for a brief period in time, the brain is like kind of excited because at least it's something new. At least you're doing something different than what you've always done. But then you drop back into this kind of lull. You get a new job, a little more, money at the end of your paycheck at the end of the month. And then that becomes like the norm, and your brain becomes used to that. This is why, you see depression even in these people making a lot of money, these celebrities. Because even them, they kind of get locked into this zone of kind of doing the same thing over and over. Even if you're looking at these people thinking, oh, they're doing all these exciting things. Well, if you eat a steak, if you eat a nice steak dinner every day, it's going to be nice for what? The first few days you go on vacation. It's going to be nice for the first few days, but what happens? Wherever you go, there you are. And you become accustomed to that, and the brain is like this needy child that always needs something. It always needs some type of new stimulus. And you know what? If you don't challenge yourself, learn new things, do new things, your brain is going to kind of drop back down into that zone. And you're just going to you're going to become depressed. And if you don't switch it up, mix it up, do something different, tackle some type of new frontier, of course, it's like the people who discovered America largely mapped out America, Lewis and Clark. You think they were dealing with depression, crossing America on the new frontier? It's like all this adventure, all this new challenge, things to overcome, obstacles to overcome, rivers to cross. It's like, where is that for the modern man? The best you can do is what? Climb the ladder. Climb the ladder, baby. And you just drop into this zone where it's not really fulfilling. You can't see the fruits of your labor. And what are you going to do? So I'm thinking in terms of releasing like projects instead of, saying, oh, I'm going to make X amount of money, do this, do that. Just have these projects that are challenging. Like writing a book is a challenging process. It's a fulfilling process. You publish it. There's your work. You distribute it. And you know what? There's a piece of you out there that you can actually see, that people can actually touch, that is like a real physical asset in the real world. Something you can build, and at the end of it, see the fruits of your labor. You got one of these jobs, and and we all got them. I got them too. But you got one of these jobs, you're depressed. The solution is not antidepressants. The solution is not an SSRI. The solution is, well, how do you get out of that situation? Just look at what you do. Of course you're depressed. Of course, you're not always feeling motivated. Who's motivated to go to work at Dunder, Mifflin Paper Company and go to these meetings where they try to like boost you up, and these office parties and like spirit rallies. It's just like in school, you go to spirit rallies, and you know what? Sometimes those were cool, and there's a lot of people working towards a common goal that makes sense. That's the problem with these corporate spirit parties. They don't make sense. It's like, what are you working towards? Like more profit for the bottom line of the company. How does that make sense? How are you going to get in the spirit about that? But sometimes you just got to put on the hat, don the hat, eat the shit sandwich, power through. And if you're at the bottom, just keep trucking along, put on the Christmas hat, and try to get yourself out of it. And yeah, you're going to be digging for a while, but get out of it, or else you're going to be in this zone where your brain is just kind of emitting the same frequency over and over and over again. And you're going to find yourself in that haze, just in the haze where you feel dispirited, demotivated. You don't feel like doing anything. Go out and build something. That's the best you can do. And life is short, right? Life is short. So don't focus on the money unless you have to. But if you're single and you don't have a family to take care of, I don't know why you would pursue one of these corporate careers. Maybe your plan is to amass a lot of money so one day you can't have a family. And in that way, it makes sense. But if you're locked into this kind of new age mindset where you don't want family, why would you do one of these jobs? Is there nothing else that you could think of? Is there nothing in your imagination? Something better? Something that you could do even if it flops? There's a lot of things you could do that even if it flops and people don't receive it or people don't like it. Is there something you could do that is fulfilling to you, that you could get out there, push out there into the world, some type of, not even legacy, just something that, this is, I feel something coming out of me. Let me put it out there and see how people react. And at the end of the day, if it doesn't work, well, you know what? At least I did something other than work at Dunder Mifflin Paper Company, And you're going to find if you start crossing these projects off the list, a lot of fulfillment flows out as a result, whether that's construction, whether that's writing a book, putting out an album, even if it sucks, do it. What are you going to do? Go into the grave having done nothing, having done absolutely nothing except work at Dunder Mifflin Paper Company? Or whatever, wherever you work at. You're telling me like that's the best. This is the best it gets for you. So just food for thought. Fallon, go nootropics.com. As always, thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. And I will see you very soon. Peace.